Millionaire of the Heart.
Chase stared at the diner's schedule, his heart pounding in his chest. He had spent the last few days wrestling with his thoughts, replaying the conversation with Lily over and over again. Each time he recalled her expression, those soft eyes that held both sadness and strength. He felt a mixture of hope and despair. He needed to show her he had changed, but the road to rebuilding their connection felt steep and uncertain. After his shift ended, Chase decided to take a different route home. Instead of heading back to his small, dingy apartment, he walked through a nearby park. The trees were beginning to shed their leaves, and the air was crisp with the chill of autumn. As he walked, he thought about how much he had lost. His fortune was gone, his career was in shambles, and the woman he loved had slipped through his fingers. Yet he felt a glimmer of determination ignite within him. He needed to prove to Lily that he was ready to be better, not just for her, but for himself. Over the next few weeks, Chase made it his mission to reconnect with Lily. He started by volunteering at a local community center, where he helped with tutoring programs for underprivileged kids. It was a far cry from his previous life as a tech mogul, but every moment spent teaching felt rewarding. Each child's smile filled the void left by his lost wealth. After several days of volunteering, he heard about a charity event that Lily was involved in, a fundraiser for families in need. It was perfect. This was his chance to show her that he wasn't the same man who had chosen success over love. He gathered his courage and decided to attend, hoping to catch a glimpse of her and maybe even talk to her. The night of the event arrived, and Chase felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The venue was beautifully decorated, with soft lights strung across the ceiling and tables adorned with elegant centerpieces. He could see people mingling, laughing, and enjoying themselves. But his focus was on one person, Lily. As he scanned the crowd, his heart raced. Then he spotted her. She was across the room, speaking to a group of people, her smile lighting up the area around her. She looked so alive, so passionate about her work, and it filled him with admiration. But he also noticed the way she held herself, slightly guarded, as if protecting her heart from potential harm. Taking a deep breath, Chase walked toward her, determination fueling his steps. He could feel the eyes of the guests on him, the whispers of curiosity surrounding his presence. He reached her just as she finished her conversation. "Lily," he said, trying to sound casual, but his voice wavered slightly. She turned, surprise flickering in her eyes before her expression settled into a cautious smile. "Chase, what are you doing here?" "I came to support the cause," he replied, gesturing to the bustling crowd. "I heard about the event and thought it was a good way to give back." Her eyes narrowed slightly, skepticism evident in her gaze. "Really? You think attending a charity event will erase the past?" Chase felt the sting of her words, but he stood his ground. "No, I don't think it will erase anything. I just want to show you that I'm working to become a better person." Lily studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she sighed, crossing her arms. "I appreciate that, but it's hard to forget everything that happened between us." "I know," Chase said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "And I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for a chance to show you I can change. I want to make amends." Lily shifted her weight, looking conflicted. "It's not that easy, Chase. I still remember how you pushed me away when I needed you the most." "I was stupid," he admitted, his vulnerability spilling out. "I was so focused on my career and what I thought was success that I lost sight of what truly mattered. I lost you, and it was the biggest mistake of my life." Her eyes softened slightly, and for a moment, Chase saw a flicker of hope. "You say that, but words are just words. I need to see real change." "I understand," he replied earnestly. "That's why I've been volunteering, trying to help others. It's not just about me anymore. I want to be part of something bigger." Lily's expression remained cautious, but he could see her walls beginning to crack. "You're serious about this?" "Absolutely," he said, his heart racing. "I know I can't undo the past, but I want to be a better man, not just for you, but for everyone around me." She looked away, deep in thought. Chase could see the conflict in her eyes. Part of her wanted to believe him, but another part was still holding on to the pain he had caused. "I need time, Chase," she finally said, her voice softer now. "I don't want to get hurt again." "Take all the time you need. he said, desperate to keep the conversation going. "I'll be here, waiting. Just know that I'm committed to changing, to being better." Lily nodded, her expression pensive. "I appreciate that, but I can't promise anything. It's a lot to process." "I understand," he replied, feeling a mix of relief and uncertainty. "Just promise me you'll think about it." As the night wore on, Chase and Lily found themselves slipping into easy conversation, reminiscing about their college days and sharing stories of their lives since then. Despite the caution between them, he felt a sense of connection building. There was something special in the air, a glimmer of hope that maybe they could find their way back to each other. But just as Chase felt the warmth of that connection, he noticed a man approach them. He was tall and confident, with an easy smile that seemed to brighten the room. Lily's face lit up at his arrival, and Chase felt a pang of jealousy twist in his gut. "Hey Lily, there you are," the man said, pulling her into a friendly hug. "I was looking for you. You've been a rock star tonight." As he walked away from the event, the air felt charged with possibilities. But he knew that healing took time, and he was prepared to wait. He just hoped he wouldn't lose her to Mark in the process. That night, as he lay in his small apartment staring at the ceiling, Chase realized that he had a long journey ahead. But for the first time in a long while, he felt a flicker of hope. He was willing to fight for Lily, and for his own redemption. But as he closed his eyes, he couldn't shake the feeling that there were still shadows lurking in his past, waiting to challenge him when he least expected it. Chase woke up the next morning with a sense of purpose. The sun filtered through the thin curtains of his small apartment, casting stripes of light across the room. He stretched, still feeling the weight of uncertainty from the night before. But something was different. A new idea buzzed in his mind like a bee in a garden, filling him with energy. He had to make a change, not just for himself, but for the people around him. After breakfast, he decided to take a walk around the neighborhood, soaking in the sights and sounds of the working-class community he had come to know. The streets were bustling with people rushing to their jobs, kids laughing and playing, and the familiar smell of breakfast from nearby diners filled the air. Chase felt a connection with these people, a bond formed through shared struggles and dreams. While walking, he noticed a group of workers outside a construction site, chatting during their break. They looked tired but determined, discussing their plans for the weekend. Chase remembered what it was like to be surrounded by colleagues who shared the same ambition and drive. Suddenly, an idea sparked in his mind. What if he could create something to help them? Chase hurried back to his apartment, heart racing with excitement. He grabbed his laptop and began brainstorming. After a few hours of scribbling down ideas, he had a rough outline for an app that could serve the working-class community. The app would connect people with job opportunities, provide resources for skill development, and offer support for everyday challenges. It would be a platform where people could find not just work, but also community and support. "This could work," he whispered to himself, feeling the thrill of possibility. But as he thought about the reality of his idea, a wave of doubt washed over him. How would he fund this? Who would help him develop the app? He had lost most of his connections in the tech world when his business collapsed, and the thought of starting from scratch felt daunting. But then he remembered Lily. She had dedicated her life to helping others, pouring her heart into her work as a social worker. Inspired by her passion, Chase felt a surge of determination. If he was going to do this, he needed to grind harder than ever, driven not by greed but by a genuine desire to make a difference. Over the next few weeks, Chase threw himself into developing his app. He spent long hours researching, learning about app development, and sketching out features. He used the skills he had once honed as a tech entrepreneur, but now focused them on a cause that mattered deeply to him. To save money, Chase moved into a shared apartment with two other people, both struggling artists who were also trying to find their way in the city. He learned to cook simple meals, cutting down on expenses and freeing up more time to work on his project. His days turned into a blur of coding, meeting with locals to gather insights about their needs, and attending community events to connect with potential users of the app. Chase started small, gathering feedback from people in the diner where he used to work. He would chat with the regulars, asking them what challenges they faced in finding work or improving their skills. Each story he heard fueled his drive. One day, a waitress named Maria shared her struggles as a single mother trying to balance work and childcare. Chase listened closely, jotting down notes and thinking about how his app could help people like her. The more he learned, the more passionate he became. He envisioned a space where people could not only find jobs, but also connect with mentors, access training resources, and share their experiences. It felt like a lifeline for those who often felt lost in the hustle of daily life. As the weeks turned into months, Chase's determination began to pay off. He managed to put together a basic prototype of the app. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. He began reaching out to local businesses, pitching his idea and asking for partnerships. To his surprise, some of them were interested in supporting his vision. They saw the potential in connecting with the community and helping people find jobs. However, there were challenges ahead. Funding was still a massive hurdle. Chase had little savings left, and the pressure began to mount. He felt the weight of uncertainty creeping in again, especially when he considered how hard he had worked to build something meaningful. Would he be able to get this off the ground? Feeling overwhelmed, he reached out to Lily. It was a leap of faith, but he wanted her to see what he was trying to accomplish. They had shared so much history, and he hoped that opening up about his work could bridge the gap between them. They met at the same diner where they had first reconnected. Chase arrived early, his heart racing as he waited for her. When she walked in, he felt a rush of warmth. She looked beautiful, wearing a cozy sweater that complemented her bright smile. "Hey Chase, it's good to see you," she said, her eyes lighting up as she approached. "You too, Lily," he replied, feeling a flutter of nerves. "I've been working on something that I think you'll find interesting." They settled into a booth, and Chase pulled out his laptop, showing her the app he had been developing. "This is what I've been pouring my heart into," he said, excitement bubbling in his chest. "It's an app for the working class community. I want to help people find jobs, learn new skills, and connect with resources." Lily leaned in, her curiosity piqued. "Wow, this looks great. What inspired you to do this?" Chase felt a blush creep onto his cheeks. "I realized how important community is after losing everything. I saw the struggles people face firsthand, and I want to be part of the solution." As he explained his vision, he noticed Lily's expression shift from surprise to admiration. "This is amazing, Chase. You're really trying to make a difference," she said, her voice warm with encouragement. "But I'm struggling with funding," he admitted, his excitement dimming slightly. "I don't know how to get it off the ground without financial backing." "Have you considered crowdfunding or reaching out to local investors?" she suggested, her mind clearly racing with ideas. "I've thought about it, but I don't have any connections left," he replied, feeling the weight of reality settle on his shoulders. "You're not alone, Chase," she said, placing her hand on his. "I can help you with networking. I know some people in the community who might be interested in supporting your vision. You just have to believe in yourself." Chase looked at her, gratitude washing over him. "Thank you, Lily. That means a lot." As they talked, a spark of hope ignited within him. With Lily's support, he felt like he could tackle the obstacles ahead. They spent the rest of the evening discussing ideas, and he could see her passion matching his own. But as the conversation deepened, he sensed a hesitation in her. "Chase, I think what you're doing is incredible, but I still need to take things slow between us. There's a lot of hurt from the past." "I understand," he replied, his heart aching at the distance she still held. "But I'm willing to wait. I just hope I can show you that I'm serious about changing." After they parted ways, Chase felt a renewed sense of purpose. He dove back into his work, driven by the encouragement Lily had given him. He began exploring crowdfunding platforms, setting up a campaign to share his story and vision. Days turned into nights as he poured his heart into creating a compelling pitch video. He shared his journey, the struggles he faced, and his hope for a better future. He recorded himself talking about the importance of community and the need for a platform that could connect people in meaningful ways. The day of the crowdfunding launch arrived, and Chase felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He shared the campaign on social media, reaching out to friends, old colleagues, and anyone who might help spread the word. As the hours passed, donations started rolling in, and he felt a surge of hope. But just as quickly, he also felt the weight of skepticism. Was it enough? Would people truly believe in his vision? With every notification, he felt a mix of joy and doubt. The campaign was gaining traction, but it was far from his goal. He needed more funding to get the app off the ground and into the hands of those who needed it most. As the campaign progressed, Chase found himself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. He felt a sense of responsibility to the community he aimed to serve and the supporters who believed in him. But then came the setback. One evening, while checking the campaign updates, he noticed a comment that made his heart sink. It was from a local investor he had reached out to earlier, someone he had hoped would support his vision. "This is a nice idea, but it seems too ambitious for a first-time entrepreneur. I'm not convinced." The words stung. Chase closed his laptop, frustration bubbling up inside him. Had he bitten off more than he could chew? Was he just a fool chasing a dream that was impossible? He took a deep breath, letting the frustration wash over him. He knew that doubt was a part of the journey, but it didn't make it any easier. Determined not to let this setback define him, he picked up the phone and called Lily. He needed to talk, to vent about the challenges he was facing. When she answered, her voice was warm and comforting. "Chase, how's the campaign going?" she asked, clearly excited. "It's going okay, but I just got some discouraging feedback from an investor. It's making me question everything," he admitted, his voice heavy. "Don't let one comment get to you," she said firmly. "Every entrepreneur faces criticism. What you're doing is brave, and there will always be naysayers. Focus on the people who believe in you." Chase felt a rush of gratitude for her support. "Thanks, Lily. You're right. I just have to keep pushing through." As they talked, he felt his spirits lift. They discussed strategies for improving the campaign, and for the first time in a while, he felt a sense of clarity. After they hung up, Chase sat in silence, staring out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. He thought about the journey ahead and how much he had already grown. Determined to not let fear hold him back, he decided to push the boundaries of his campaign further. He reached out to community organizations, sharing his story and asking for their support. He attended local meetings, speaking about the importance of job access and community resources. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. People started to rally around his vision. Donations increased, and he received messages of encouragement from others who shared similar stories. The app was becoming more than just an idea. It was a movement. But with every step forward, Chase still felt a shadow lurking behind him. He knew that setbacks were inevitable in the world of entrepreneurship. As much as he wanted to focus on the positive, he couldn't shake the feeling that the past would catch up with him when he least expected it. As the crowdfunding campaign neared its end, Chase felt a mix of excitement and fear. He had made progress, but he also knew that the real work was just beginning. Could he truly build something that would make a difference? That night, as he lay in bed, he closed his eyes and tried to push the worries aside. He was on a path to redemption, a journey that would take time and effort. But in his heart, he believed that he could rise from the ashes of his past and become the man he had always wanted to be. And just as he drifted off to sleep, a thought flickered in his mind. What if the shadows of his past come back to haunt him when he's least prepared? With that question lingering in his thoughts, he closed his eyes, unaware of the challenges waiting for him on the horizon. As the weeks rolled by, Chase could feel the rhythm of his life shifting. His crowdfunding campaign had exceeded his expectations, and people were genuinely interested in the app he was creating. But while his professional life was gaining momentum, his personal life remained a complicated web of emotions and memories. Every time he and Lily met, there was a spark between them, a flicker of the love they once shared. But along with that spark came the ghosts of their past, whispering doubts and insecurities. Chase was determined to show her that he had changed, but he knew it would take time for her to fully trust him again. One sunny Saturday afternoon, they decided to meet at a local park. It was a lively place, filled with children laughing, couples strolling hand in hand, and people picnicking on the grass. As Chase approached, he saw Lily sitting on a bench, her eyes focused on the children playing nearby. She looked serene, lost in her thoughts, and for a moment he just admired her from a distance. "Hey, you," he called, waving as he walked over. Lily turned, a smile spreading across her face. "Hi, Chase. It's such a nice day, isn't it? Perfect day for a picnic," he replied, pulling out a small basket filled with sandwiches and snacks he had prepared. "I thought we could enjoy some lunch outdoors." Lily's eyes sparkled with surprise. "Wow, you cooked? This is impressive." Chase felt a swell of pride at her compliment. "I'm learning new things every day," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. "Just like you suggested, I'm working hard to improve myself." As they settled down on the grass, sharing the food and reminiscing about their college days, Chase noticed the shift in Lily. She seemed more at ease, less guarded. They talked and laughed, slowly rekindling the bond they once had. It felt good, but Chase couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something unsaid between them. "Chase," Lily began hesitantly, "I've seen how hard you're working. It's inspiring." "Thanks, Lily," he said, leaning in slightly. "But I want you to know it's not just about the app or the money. I want to prove to you that I've changed. I want to be someone you can trust again." "I see the change in you, I really do," she admitted, her voice softening. "But it's hard for me. I still remember how you chose money over us." The weight of her words settled in the air between them. Chase took a deep breath, knowing he had to confront the past head-on. "I know I hurt you, and I regret it every single day. I was so focused on my ambitions that I lost sight of what mattered most, us." Lily looked down, picking at the grass. "It's not easy for me to forget. You built this huge empire and I was just there. When you chose your work over our relationship, it broke me." Chase's heart ached at her honesty. He reached out, gently placing his hand over hers. "I understand, and I don't expect you to forget, but I hope that you can see how much I've grown. I want to be better, for myself and for you." Lily met his gaze, searching his eyes for sincerity. "It's going to take time, Chase. I need to see that you're committed, not just to your work, but to us." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," he said earnestly. "I want to rebuild our trust, step by step." As they talked, a sense of hope blossomed in Chase's chest. They were both aware of the challenges ahead, but they were also willing to confront them together. The days turned into weeks, and slowly but surely, their relationship began to mend. They went on long walks, shared meals, and spent quiet evenings discussing everything from their dreams to their fears. Each moment was filled with laughter, but there were also times of vulnerability where they addressed the scars left by their past. Yet, as their connection deepened, Chase noticed that the shadows of his previous life still lingered. There were moments of doubt when he would wonder if he truly deserved this second chance. And then there were whispers from the outside world, old acquaintances who wanted to remind him of the man he used to be. One evening, Chase and Lily were having dinner at a cozy restaurant downtown. The ambience was warm, with soft music playing in the background. As they shared a plate of pasta, Chase noticed a familiar face enter the restaurant. It was one of his former business partners, Derek, someone he hadn't seen since the collapse of his empire. "Isn't that Derek?" Lily asked, glancing over her shoulder. Chase nodded, feeling a mix of anxiety and resentment. "Yeah, it is. I haven't spoken to him since, well, you know." Derek spotted them and approached their table with a confident stride. "Chase, long time no see," he said, a sly smile creeping onto his face. "I heard you were back in the game. Congrats on the crowdfunding. Looks like you're on your way up again." Chase felt a knot form in his stomach. "Thanks, Derek," he replied, trying to keep his tone neutral. "I'm working hard." "Glad to see it. You were always the ambitious one," Derek said, leaning against the table. "But I hope you know that it takes more than just a good idea to succeed. You have to play the game, and it looks like you've lost a lot of your connections." Chase felt the heat rise in his cheeks. "I've learned that success isn't just about connections. It's about building something meaningful." Sure, Derek replied, waving his hand dismissively. "But don't forget who you're dealing with. This city can be ruthless. People remember the failures just as much as the successes." He cast a glance at Lily, sizing her up with an appraising look. "Looks like you're trying to win back old flames, too." Chase felt a surge of anger, but he forced himself to remain calm. "I'm not interested in playing games anymore, Derek. I've moved on from that life." "Good luck, then," Derek said, smirking. "Just remember, it's a jungle out there." As Derek walked away, Chase could feel Lily's gaze piercing through him. "Are you okay?" she asked, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, I'm fine," he replied, trying to shake off the encounter. Just the past trying to claw its way back in. Lily reached across the table, taking his hand. "You're stronger than that, Chase. Don't let anyone undermine what you're building." "Thanks, Lily. I just wish I could fully escape that world," he admitted, feeling the weight of Derek's words. "But I guess it's always going to be there, waiting to remind me of who I was." "Maybe so," she said softly, "but you're not that person anymore. You're creating something new, and I believe in you." Chase looked into her eyes and felt a rush of warmth. In that moment, he realized that as long as he had Lily by his side, he could face any challenge that came his way. As the days passed, they grew closer, learning to communicate better and navigate the complexities of rebuilding their relationship. But each step forward also came with its own set of challenges. There were times when doubts would creep in, and they would find themselves in the middle of heated discussions. Trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. It required patience and understanding. One evening, as they walked through the park, Chase noticed Lily was unusually quiet. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concerned. "I'm just worried," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if you fall back into old habits? What if you focus too much on your work and forget about us again?" Chase stopped walking, turning to face her. "I promise you, I won't let that happen. I've lost so much already. I won't risk losing you too." Lily's eyes shimmered with uncertainty. "I want to believe you, but it's hard. I need to see actions, not just words." "I understand," he said, his heart aching at her hesitance. "I want to show you that I'm committed to this. Us. We can take things one step at a time." She nodded, but Chase could see the doubt lingering in her eyes. It was a reminder that trust was a fragile thing, and it could shatter easily if not handled with care. As time went on, they faced moments of joy and frustration. They learned to celebrate each other's successes and navigate the occasional bumps in the road. But even in their best moments, Chase couldn't shake the feeling that something was looming in the shadows, waiting to disrupt their fragile bond. One night, as they sat together on the couch, Chase was scrolling through social media. He stopped, his heart dropping as he saw a post from Derek. The caption read, "Back in the game, and this time, I won't lose." Chase's stomach twisted. The photo showed Derek standing next to a sleek, new office building, complete with flashy cars parked out front. It was clear he was planning to make a big comeback. "What is it?" Lily asked, noticing the change in his expression. "It's Derek," Chase said, showing her the post. "He's making a comeback, and I have a feeling he's not going to let me forget my past." Lily leaned closer, her brows furrowed in concern. "Do you think he'll try to sabotage you?" "I don't know," Chase admitted, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. "But he's not someone who plays fair. I can't let him interfere with what I'm building." "Then don't let him," Lily said, her voice steady. "You've come so far, Chase. You can't let fear dictate your future." Her words resonated deep within him, igniting a fire of determination. "You're right. I need to focus on what matters, and that's us and the community I'm trying to help." As they sat together, Chase could feel the warmth of Lily's support surrounding him. But deep down, he knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, especially with Derek lurking in the shadows. Could he truly navigate this new chapter without losing himself again? As they settled down for the night, Chase closed his eyes, hoping for clarity. But the lingering question remained. Would the past catch up to him? And if it did, would he be ready to face it? Chase stood at the window of his small apartment, staring out at the city below. The buildings, once towering symbols of power and wealth, now looked different to him. More like structures filled with ordinary people working hard to make ends meet. His reflection in the glass seemed like a stranger, but he didn't feel the same hollow sense of loss that had haunted him for so long. There was something new in his heart, a quiet sense of purpose. His app, still in its early stages, was starting to gain attention. Not the kind of attention that he used to crave, the glitzy headlines or tech magazine features. No, this was different. The app, designed to help working-class people find jobs and connect with community resources, had struck a chord with the very people it aimed to support. It started with small victories. A single mother sent him a message, thanking him for creating something that made her job search easier. A local diner owner, where Chase had worked a few months back, called to say he'd used the app to hire 2 new employees. Little by little, stories like these trickled in, filling Chase with a sense of pride and accomplishment that money had never given him. But as the app gained traction, so did the challenges. He was operating on a shoestring budget, and the need for additional funds was becoming clear. Chase had reached out to former investors, but many were hesitant. His public downfall still lingered in their minds, and trust wasn't something they were ready to extend. One night, while reviewing the app's latest data, Chase's phone buzzed with a message. It was from Lily. "Lily, can we talk? I've been thinking about something important." Chase's heart raced. Over the past few months, their relationship had slowly rebuilt itself, but the scars from their past still hovered over them like a shadow. He quickly replied, agreeing to meet the next day. The next afternoon, they sat together in a small cafe. The place was cozy, with soft jazz playing in the background. Lily was quiet, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, as if deep in thought. Chase waited patiently, sensing that whatever was on her mind was serious. Finally, she spoke. "Chase, I've been watching you work on this app for months now. I've seen the changes in you, and I know how hard this has been. You're not the same person you were when we broke up." Chase felt a surge of emotion. "I've been trying, Lily. I'm trying to be better, not just for you, but for myself. I don't want to go back to that person I used to be." "I know," she said softly, looking up at him. "That's why I've decided I want to invest in your app." Chase blinked, caught completely off guard. "What, Lily? You don't have to do that. I know how much you've been through because of me. I can't let you risk your money on this." But Lily shook her head. "It's not about the money, Chase. It's about believing in you. This app, it's more than just a business. It's about helping people like me, like my family, and like the people you've worked alongside these past few months. I see how much it means to you, and I want to be part of it." Chase felt a lump in his throat. Her words hit him harder than he expected. For so long, he had thought that he needed to prove himself to Lily, but now, here she was, putting her faith in him in a way that no one else had. "I don't know what to say," he whispered, overwhelmed by her generosity. "Say you'll accept my help," Lily said, her voice firm but kind. "I don't want you to feel like you're doing this alone. We've both learned a lot over the years, and maybe this is our chance to rebuild, not just our relationship, but something bigger." Chase nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Lily. I promise I won't let you down." The two sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their decision hanging between them. This was a turning point, not just for the app, but for them as well. Chase realized that this second chance wasn't just about proving himself in business. It was about proving himself to the people who mattered most in his life. As the weeks went by, the app began to pick up momentum, largely thanks to Lily's support. With her investment, Chase was able to hire a small team to help with development and outreach. The app's user base grew steadily, as word spread among communities that needed it most. Chase found himself attending meetings with local organizations, pitching his idea to people who had never heard of him before. One such meeting took place at a community center in a working-class neighborhood. The room was filled with local leaders, teachers, business owners, and social workers. Chase stood at the front, nervously clutching his notes. He had pitched ideas to boardrooms full of wealthy investors before, but this felt different. These people weren't interested in profits or fancy presentations. They wanted to know how his app could actually help the people in their neighborhoods. After his presentation, there was a long silence. Chase's heart pounded in his chest, waiting for someone to speak up. Finally, an older man in the back of the room raised his hand. "This app of yours," the man said slowly. "It sounds like it could be useful, but how do we know you're not just another guy looking to make a quick buck off of us?" Chase took a deep breath. He had been expecting this question. "I get it," he said, his voice steady. "I used to be that guy. I used to think that success was all about making money and living a flashy lifestyle. But I lost all of that, and it made me realize that true success isn't about wealth, it's about making a difference. I built this app because I've seen how hard it is for people to get by, and I want to do something to help." The man nodded, his expression softening. "All right, son, let's see what you can do." From that point on, things began to change. Chase started receiving small investments from local community organizations and individuals, people who believed in his mission. It wasn't the kind of money that would have impressed his old business partners, but to Chase, it meant everything. These were ordinary people, putting their faith in him not because of his past, but because of the person he was becoming. One evening, as Chase and Lily sat together on the balcony of his apartment, they reflected on how far they had come. The city lights twinkled in the distance, casting a warm glow over them. "You've done it," Lily said, her voice filled with pride. "You've really turned things around." Chase smiled, though his heart was still heavy with thoughts of the future. "It's not over yet," he said quietly. "There's still so much work to do. And I'm worried about Derek." Lily frowned. "What about him?" "He's been quiet lately." "Too quiet," Chase admitted. "I know he's planning something. I just don't know what." Lily took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together. You've come too far to let anyone bring you down now." Chase nodded, but the unease in his stomach remained. Derek had always been a ruthless competitor, and Chase knew that he wouldn't stay out of the picture for long. As the night wore on, Chase found himself staring out at the city, lost in thought. He had rebuilt so much. His app was gaining traction, and his relationship with Lily was stronger than ever. But there was still a part of him that feared the shadows of his past. Could he truly escape the mistakes he had made? Or would they come back to haunt him just as he was on the verge of success? With those questions swirling in his mind, Chase knew that the road to redemption was far from over. And as the winds of change continued to blow, he couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing just beyond the horizon. Chase Sullivan stood in front of the gleaming glass windows of his newly established office, high above the bustling streets of New York City. The view was stunning. Skyscrapers reaching into the sky, the endless blur of cars, people moving like ants below. It was a sight that would have once filled him with pride, a symbol of his success, of everything he had built. But today it meant something entirely different. He wasn't the same man who had once looked down at the world from an ivory tower. The past year had changed him in ways he hadn't thought possible. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over the city, Chase found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this moment. It all began with the success of his new app, the project he had poured his heart and soul into. What started as a simple tool to help working-class people find jobs and resources had blossomed into something much bigger. Community centers, schools, and even local governments had begun using the app to connect people with opportunities, and word had spread quickly. Before he knew it, Chase's business had taken off in ways he hadn't imagined. Small investments from community organizations had snowballed into larger ones. Investors who had once written him off began knocking on his door, eager to be part of something that was not only profitable, but genuinely impactful. Unlike his old business ventures, which were all about profits and prestige, this new venture had a deeper purpose, and people recognized that. But it wasn't just about the money this time. Chase had learned, through the hardest of lessons, that success meant more than the size of his bank account. With each new milestone, he found himself driven by a desire to make a difference, to create something that truly mattered. He had returned to wealth, yes, but this time it felt different. The flash of his former life, the expensive cars, the penthouse parties, the endless luxury, held no appeal for him anymore. Now, he wanted something more lasting, more meaningful. One afternoon, Chase sat in a meeting with his team, discussing the latest updates to the app. His head of development, a talented young woman named Sarah, was running through the numbers. "We've seen a 30% increase in user engagement this quarter," she said, her voice bright with excitement. People are really responding to the new community features we added. That's fantastic, Chase said, leaning forward in his chair. How are we doing with expanding into other cities? We're already in talks with organizations in Chicago and Los Angeles, Sarah replied. They're interested in integrating the app with their local services. It's really taking off, Chase. He nodded, feeling a swell of pride. Not for himself, but for the team that had worked tirelessly to make this dream a reality. Great work, everyone. Let's keep pushing forward. As the meeting wrapped up, Chase's phone buzzed. It was a message from Lily. Lily, busy today? I have something to show you. Chase smiled, typing back quickly. I'm free. What's up? Meet me at the community center. You'll see. A half hour later, Chase arrived at the center. A modest building nestled between a row of small businesses in the heart of the city. It was a place he had come to know well in recent months, often visiting to meet with local leaders and see firsthand the impact his app was having. Lily was waiting for him at the entrance, a smile lighting up her face as she saw him approach. Her eyes sparkled with the same warmth that had drawn him to her all those years ago, and Chase felt a familiar flutter in his chest. Hey, he said, pulling her into a hug. What's this all about? You'll see, she replied, leading him inside. They walked through the hallway, passing rooms filled with people, some taking classes, others using computers, and a group of children playing in a small rec area. Lily guided him to the back of the building, where a small auditorium had been set up for a meeting. The room was packed with community members, many of whom Chase recognized from past visits. At the front of the room stood a man who looked vaguely familiar, until it clicked. Is that? Chase began. Lily nodded. Yeah. It's one of the guys who used your app to get a job. He's giving a talk today, sharing his story. Chase watched as the man began to speak, his voice filled with emotion. He talked about how he had lost his job during the pandemic and struggled for months to find work. It wasn't until he discovered Chase's app that he was able to connect with a local employer who gave him a second chance. This app changed my life, the man said, his voice thick with gratitude. It gave me hope when I had none left. And it's not just me. I know people, families, who've been able to put food on the table because of this. It's more than just an app. It's a lifeline. The room erupted in applause, and Chase felt his throat tighten. He glanced at Lily, who was watching him with a soft smile. You did this, she whispered. No, Chase said, shaking his head. We did this. All of us. As the meeting wrapped up, people came up to Chase, thanking him for the work he was doing, sharing their stories of how the app had helped them. It was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. This was why he had started the project in the first place, not for accolades or financial gain, but to make a real difference in people's lives. Later that night, Chase and Lily sat together on the rooftop of his modest apartment building, the city skyline stretching out before them. The air was cool, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees below. You know, Chase said, breaking the comfortable silence, if someone had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting here, in this place, feeling richer than I ever have before, I wouldn't have believed them. Lily laughed softly. Yeah, I can't imagine the old Chase Sullivan thinking that way. Old me was an idiot, Chase said with a grin. I thought money was everything, but I've learned that it's not about how much you have, it's about what you do with it. And right now, I feel like the richest man in the world. Lily looked at him, her eyes shining with love and pride. You've come a long way, Chase. I couldn't have done it without you, he admitted, his voice soft. You've always been my anchor, even when I didn't deserve it. She leaned in, resting her head on his shoulder. Well, you're stuck with me now. Chase smiled, his heart swelling with contentment. For the first time in years, he felt truly at peace. The flashy cars, the parties, the endless pursuit of more, they all seemed so insignificant compared to what he had now. Love, purpose, and a deeper understanding of what really mattered in life. As the months passed, Chase's business continued to grow, but his focus remained steady. He was determined to keep the company grounded in its mission to help people, refusing to let it become just another faceless corporation driven by profits. He made sure that a portion of the app's earnings went directly back into the communities it served, funding job training programs, community outreach initiatives, and local charities. But more than that, Chase had found a balance in his life that he had never known before. His relationship with Lily was stronger than ever, built on trust, love, and the understanding that they were in this journey together. They had both been through so much, but in the end, they had come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more in love than ever. One evening, as they sat together in their cozy apartment, Lily turned to Chase with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "The old life, I mean. The wealth, the fame, the power?" Chase thought about it for a moment before shaking his head. "Not really. I had all of that, but it never made me happy. What I have now, it's real, it's meaningful, and it's more than enough." Lily smiled, leaning in to kiss him softly. "I'm glad to hear that." As they sat together, wrapped in each other's warmth, Chase realized that he had found something far more valuable than the millions he had once chased so desperately. He had found a life filled with love, purpose, and a sense of fulfillment that no amount of money could ever buy. He was richer than he had ever been, but not because of his bank account. He was rich in love, rich in gratitude, and rich in the knowledge that he had made a difference. And that, Chase knew, was the greatest wealth of all.